Hello, everyone. Welcome to WD Carousel podcast. My name's Ian.
And I'm Crystal.
How you doing over there, Crystal?
I'm doing okay. That was
that's good.
Uncoordinated, but
uncoordinated. Well, and that's just what happens when you're working remote, and we can't have any timing.
Correct. Even though we try.
But yes.
Even though we try.
But by the time that I've done that, it's like a couple of milliseconds have passed, and it's like a whole thing. And anyway,
I know. And then you're feeling lightheaded, and
exactly
it's the way of the world. Okay,
so yes,
we are
today
doing an episode.
That's
why we are
parks
recording. Correct.
Yes. We are gonna we're kind of gonna veer off of the main course of things we've been doing, and we're going to focus on the parks again this week, and we're going to talk a little bit about updates to the parks and how they're operating right now as we enter into the next season of Disney operating parks during a holiday and during COVID. And so we're kind of gonna put a little spotlight on that over the next two episodes.
Yeah, especially since we haven't discussed the parks reopening, and they've been open for 4 months now. So there's been some trial and error. There's some things that they had to work out. There's some things that they've taken some really good step towards. But as people are starting to go back to the parks, these are things that people should be aware of that are different, as well as changes to the normal Disney experience. So,
some modifications, a modified Disney experience. So in that case, to begin with, they've now, because it initially opened with like a 25% capacity for the parks.
Yeah, they didn't want to come out with a number initially. They were just like, we're operating at a reduced capacity. And we're like, what does that entail? Is that like 10%? Is that 50%?
50%?
Is that 99%? Because technically that is reduced capacity.
Limited capacity.
But eventually
sounds like Apple launching new technology with no real numbers.
They eventually did confirm that they had opened the parks initially at 25%, though a lot of people were not even hitting those park capacities because people are trying to be responsible, or at least I'd like to think so, and they don't want to put themselves into a position where they could be exposed to COVID, because COVID is still a thing all these months.
Yes.
It's still going.
Still a thing.
It was just announced recently in their financial roundup Q4 that they were going to be increasing park capacity from 25% to 35%, which I honestly think is actually very responsible of them, because the governor of Florida gave them the okie dokie to open up 100%.
Just to go all in. Right, which is insanity, but that's
Florida
podcast.
For you.
Yeah, that's a Florida problem.
Like, I don't trust getting to Florida, but once you're in the Disney bubble, I
feel a little more comfortable. Yeah,
I've heard people say that they trust Disney and Disney parks more than they trust their local grocery store, which doesn't shock me, due to the amount of precautions and how strict Disney's being in protecting their cast members as well as their guests.
Right.
So I would 100% be on board going to Disney right now if there was a safe way to get there. Now, I don't trust airports. I don't trust trains. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not going to be in a car for 2 days.
No. And then even then you have to stop in the middle of nowhere. There's just no way that I feel super comfortable. Just for me at this point in time, making a cross-country trip, the distance that you and I have to travel to get there, seems irresponsible, like in any way that we would do it. If we magically were just like in Disney, I feel like I would, if
I could teleport, I would be there.
Yeah.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Another thing that they started doing was requiring park reservations. This is on top of your ticket that you've already purchased. And it's a way for them to make sure that they are not overloading capacity in one park or another. So Magic Kingdom on a Saturday, which is the, most crowded park you're going to find normally, they're able to make sure that all ticket sales are not heading to Magic Kingdom. They're able to spread it out a little bit, which I think is very responsible.
Yeah, I actually just kind of overall, and by the time that we go again, I don't know what kind of system they're going to have in place for this, but it would be interesting to know like how different that feels to have that regulated amount of people in the parks. You know, it's just a very interesting vibe to even think about. But and another thing to know is those reservations do not cost anything. They're just like reserving a table. Basically, you just have your park ticket. And you're like, I want to go this day, please, and they go, okay, you know, or no, it's full.
They do say current park capacity is essentially what an after hours event would be. So Mickey's Very Merry Christmas, Mickey's Not So Scary, they are the same sizes as what the current limited park capacity is. So it's
that's a pretty good feel.
If you want to know what to expect, then that would be a maxed out capacity load for, you know, Halloween party on Halloween. The amount of people that you're going to see there, or the amount of people you're going to see there on a Saturday nowadays.
Right.
Another thing though is the park reservations. There are 3 different tiers. So you have 3 different ways to get a park reservation. So if you are just your standard general populace where you just got a ticket, you can go in and you can make a reservation, and each of these have their own separate calendars where it's like green, yellow, red, go, kind of stop. You know, you get it. A next one is resort guests, so people who have tickets and a resort stay, on property. And then the third level is the annual pass holders. And they're finding that most people who have annual passes, it's harder to get tickets for on select dates because they have their own calendar. And so even if General Pop has a green window, if AP is red, they're not going to move their availability over.
Their allocation is only for the group that you fall into.
Yep.
So when we made our reservations for next year, we fell out technically under the resort guest category.
Yep. So we went above and beyond, because even though I'm an annual pass holder, I bought a separate ticket and we're staying at Pop Century to be able to make sure that we could, and we did, get a park reservation for Magic Kingdom for the 50th anniversary, because we don't want to, you know, get down there and not be able to get there.
Get in, which is, you know, it's about 40% of the reason that we're going down there anyway.
Yes.
Not that we don't just want to go down there, but it is a major factor for doing it.
And then annual pass holders can make park reservations, but only 3 days at a time. They don't have to be consecutive, but they can only be like, okay, I want this date, this park. You can't just load up your calendar with reservations. You need to only do 3 at a time.
You can have those 3 days, you can do them, and then you can make 3 more.
Yes. It's a rolling 3 days upon usage.
The rolling fast pass.
No. We will get to that in a minute.
Yeah, we will.
But okay, so you have a park reservation. You want to go into the parks. First thing that they're going to do is a temperature check. This is not abnormal. Any, you know, big area, that's not the right word. Event? No, that's not the right word.
Any public, semi-concentrated public group people
gathering
thing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying. So if you want to go to a park, or if you want to go anywhere on Disney property that there will be General Pop, you are going to have a temperature check. They are doing forehead scans for every single person, including children and babies. So it's just that or shocked.
Non-invasive. Right. And if you are, you should feel bad.
The mouth thermometer. But then they also added new technology to the check process.
Yes. And we might have gone over this briefly once, but it's just kind of like, it just reads you as you walk through, which is like, it's just kind of like X-ray specs in the form of a little, it kind of looks like the things you walk through when you go like through, like coming in and out of like a big box store. Those like scanners that look for those like RFID tags that if you stole something.
And this is their new bag check. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just walk through it with your stuff. And for the most part, you just walk through it with you and the bag, and it just reads it as you walk through and flags if there's a problem, which is crazy. and awesome.
I honestly can't wait to check it out.
Do it.
Because I'm so used to all those big long lines for baggage check and having to like open every single pocket of our backpacks and make sure that everything's available. And then there's like the 4 people in front of you that haven't done that yet. So every single one of them, you're having to wait even longer for them to open the bags because yes, the security guard's going to want to check in there. This makes it so much faster. It like expedites the process of being able to walk through, you know, still keeping 6 foot socially distanced, but walking through and only if it beeps, kind of like a metal detector. If something triggers it, then they'll pull you off to the side and do a little bit further
do a
digging.
Proper,
but it's not anything.
But the fact that they can do that and you don't have to get stopped, you know, every single human being has to get stopped. It's huge. It's got to be, you know, that was always the thing that kind of shocked me, that they actually like stopped and checked. I mean, it was good that they were doing due diligence, but the fact that they were still doing that, it was amazing, the lines that you would find yourself in. So
they're even doing that at Disney Springs now.
Are they really?
Yeah,
that's kind of
they're doing the temperature checks and they're doing the bag checks, which I think is a great thing because you know, even though yes, technically Disney Springs is kind of a glorified mall, it is still Disney property where if something happens, they could be held accountable. So they need to.
Honestly, at this point, Disney Springs is like a free Disney park, in my opinion. I mean, with a lot of shops, obviously, but it's so themed and so put together. And we've talked about Disney Springs in a past episode at some point, but it's a pretty amazingly well put together spot. So having it handled like a park with just no admission is kind of a nice way to think about it.
Unlike Universal, where they have their city walk, but you have to pay for parking. And it's like $20 for parking.
Yep. So granted, that's the same parking if you're going to a park too. It's all just the same, right?
But you know, you're still having to pay. To get there.
Unless you're staying nearby and you just walk. That's what we do.
Disney Springs will also close off the garages if they're at capacity as well. So the only way that you'd be able to get into Disney Springs once they close off the garages is if you are a resort guest.
Come from a resort guest. Got it. Okay, that's cool.
Now let's go to the other big guy, the one that is still somehow controversial to some people. I don't get it, but the mask mandate, okay?
Yes.
I don't
You're
understand.
Older than 2.
People are against wearing a mask.
I know.
Yes, if you are older than 2, you are required to wear a mask, and a correct mask too. They're not accepting handkerchiefs. They're not accepting, or at least last I saw, they weren't accepting neck gaiters. So that means you have to have a full forming mask,
proper fitting mask that fits under your chin or under your mouth and over your nose. That is what I.
And if you take down your nose, they will yell at you. If you do not wear your mask properly, even after you've been corrected, they will escort you off of property. If you make a big deal and fight about this as if this is against your First Amendment rights, they will ban you from Disney. I've seen videos.
And to be lovely, I love that. You can watch those videos so I don't have to, because that just gets me stressed. But another thing to notice is, if you are if you believe that that's like violating your rights somehow, remember, it doesn't feel like it necessarily, but Walt Disney World is private property. They are well within their rights to do that. And the rest of the park will be safer for it. So I tip my invisible hat to them for that.
Their stand on masks and their no wiggle room on that is one of the main reasons why I feel so comfortable with the decision of going back down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
People were trying to do a sneaky workaround of, because, you know, they'll allow you to eat and drink, and people were walking around Epcot, you know, drinking around the world with their mask down near their chin, and they had, you know, their beer in their hand while they were walking. And Disney said, no. Now you're only allowed to eat and drink if you're stationary, and then you can take your mask off. If you are not stationary, you are not allowed to have your mask. Yep. So you cannot.
So even if you have a beer in your hand or whatever, you need, if you cannot you can stop and take a drink of beer, but don't be walking around the World Showcase with your mask down because you have a beverage in your hand. Nice.
These are the little loopholes that people were trying to get away with that Disney squashed right away.
I love it.
PhotoPass.
This whole episode's just going to turn us to us being feeling really good about Disney just squashing mask.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny.
PhotoPass photographers are still around, but they do require that you wear your mask. If you take your mask off, they will not take the photo for you. If you are on an attraction and take your mask off, any on attraction photos will not show up for you. You need to have a mask. The workaround with that is I did see somebody had posted in my AP group that there was a little kid who was like freaking out. I think it was on like Tower of Terror or something, and the mask slid down. And so you could tell that the kid hadn't tried. And so they like put like a mask sticker on the face of the kid. So it looked like he still had a mask on, but it was totally like digitally put on him.
Oh my God.
So they will not, no excuses, no workarounds, no, I cannot do it because of medical reasons. Now.
Right.
That doesn't exist.
You are not required. You are not required to go into Disney.
Exactly.
Like if you truly can't wear a mask, I think that there are other issues you should be addressing. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, I get it. Like there are issues in the world, but like Disney should not be a place you should be going if you're unable to be safe there.
Now, not to say that Disney can't be reasonable. They do have relaxation stations that are designated around the park. So if you just need to have 5 minutes or so, however long you want, without a mask on, you can go to a relaxation station and sit socially distanced from other people, take your mask off, have a break. That's fine. But any other time outside of the relaxation stations, you best be wearing your mask.
Or you're stationary and taking a bite of food or a sip of beer.
Yes. You can't just be
the only other scenario that you can
without it.
Got it. That's the only time that you are allowed to have your mask not on.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Let's get to attractions.
Yes,
Some
indeed.
of the big changes as well here. So you're in the park. You've gotten your PhotoPass picture of your back because nobody for some reason wants to take pictures with the mask on the front of them. So a lot of people are turning and having the PhotoPass photographer taking the picture of the back of their head. Anyways.
Oh, sure.
You go to your first attraction. There are no fast passes. There are no single riders. At this point, there is only the main wait queue. Which, if you think about it, like an after-hours event, just due to capacity, it's not really needed. The longest that most people might wait is an hour, unless people are loaded up in that queue for some weird reason. Like they really have to get on this ride. I don't know. We've been seeing weird wait times all over the place. Like there was one time I had messaged Ian and Small World had a 40-minute wait, and what was it? Haunted Mansion had a 15.
Haunted Mansion. Yeah, it was like, what is happening?
And then Carousel of Progress. Had what, like a 10-minute? It was so weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very weird.
But they also have the queues socially distance spaced, and if it looks longer, it's not necessarily going to take you a long time. It's just the way that they had to spread it out to make sure that everybody's safe. There are plexiglass barriers in the queue line, so if it does have to do a switchback, you're not going to be breathing the person next to you's air. And if there is no plexiglass, they do keep spacing, which also includes a lot of the pre-shows. So like Tower of Terror, you just walk through, you don't do the pre-show ahead of that. Same with Haunted Mansion, you just walk through. Good thing we don't have the elevator part on this one.
Right. How do they handle that for? Oh, they're not open.
It's closed, so they don't.
They're not even open, so they don't. We don't know how they do it. So they just walk you right through. Oh my god, that's so
Currently,
weird.
they just have both sides open and they just walk you straight through.
Weird.
Attractions are cleaned at least every 2 hours, if not more often. So that's a deep cleaning, and that's scrubbing, that's chemicals, that's all of that. So it could take, if you are in a queue, you know, a lot of people are saying whatever the posted time is, it could be half of that, it could be double that, but it just depends on where you are in the cleaning cycle.
Right. Oh, funny.
So
it's sort of, it smells like the entirety of Disney World they cleaned up after a murder all the time.
all the time.
All the time.
As well as most shows are not running. So you're not going to find Festival of the Lion King. You're not going to find Finding Nemo. You're not going to be finding a lot of the stuff that would have you close proximity. I don't think Tiki's running right now. Obviously, Carousel is, because we discussed it, but that one gives you a little bit more people spacing.
Sure. Easier to space people anyway, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But there's plenty of stuff that's not going on right now as well.
Yeah. So again, when you're talking about just distance for people, like parades, they're just trying to keep people from congregating in the same area. But they are doing like small little character cavalcades, though, just kind of through the streets, right? Just little small 2 or 3 vehicle things.
Yeah, it's like one parade float and a couple walking dancers, maybe a character, but they're unscheduled, so you can't like plan it and have people build up, like they would for a parade.
I know that sounds kind of bad, but like I actually kind of like that better, me personally. Like I would much rather see like a little like blip of something and see a character come through than like be like stuck in this huge parade. Obviously, like I miss like shows and stuff. Like I want those to come back, but like honestly, like just having like little like bits and stuff where you just it'll pop up and you get to see it closer and less people around. Like it's cool if you see it.
It feels more organic and spontaneous.
Yes.
Instead of, regulated.
The big scheduled out. Right. And I love that. And they've done a little bit more of that in some of the newer parts of the park, but it's nice to see them just kind of try it out in other places because I think it's
and every single resort has the character cavalcades now. Parks. Even the parks we haven't been seeing parades at. So Hollywood Studios, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, all of them actually do have the character cavalcades.
Oh, cool.
So you're going to be seeing a variety of characters throughout the park, even if they didn't have scheduled parades pre-COVID.
Sure. Pre-COVID. Interesting. And obviously because of that, you're not gonna be able to meet and greet the characters. There's no waiting in line.
But I love the way that they worked around that. Honestly, I'm a character person, you're not.
Yep.
But I always hated standing in a wait queue for 40 minutes to see a character for like 5 seconds, get a hug, 2 pictures, and then moving on. Here they have the characters like up on top of the train station, so they're overlooking and they're waving and you can like talk back and forth with them, and or the second story of the Country Bears, they're up there too. Country Bears, I've seen Chip and Dale up there. Even the second story of Pinocchio Village House has Jiminy Cricket occasionally.
Wow.
And so you're going to see a lot more characters than you would be able to if you had to wait in lines.
Right. And I kind of hope, and so this is again like, and one of the things that like you kind of hit the nail on the head. One of the things I kind of dislike about the character meet and greets overall is, like you said, that very prescribed wait in line for forever just so you can take a quick snapshot in a very not organic interaction with that character actor. I love the idea of, and when it's post COVID, it would be really cool if they kept some of those organic aspects.
I agree.
And would just kind of sneak in people. And, that was like I talked to my mom the last time she was there because they do that in Galaxy's Edge and having that. And it was organic, and she thought it was amazing. And she's not a person who waits in line for characters either. But when you get to work with one of those cast members, one of those actors in a real organic environment, it's like LARPing. You know what I mean? Like it's a different environment entirely. And I would be much more willing to interact with those actors in that environment because it's more organic and more interesting. I can feel like I'm part of the situation and not just like kind of standing there awkwardly with somebody who's trying to stay in character in an environment that makes no sense.
Talk a little bit, smile for the camera, move on, hug, smile. No.
Smile. Exactly. Was not my thing, but that would be really cool.
Yeah.
If they did more of that.
They should keep it.
I know Disney's not listening, but I hope they will. Yeah, and obviously there's no fireworks.
Yeah, no big fireworks
Because
displays right now because, again,
yeah,
people would be clumping up around the hub and wanting to get the best view, and who cares if they're within social distancing
right,
limits.
right, and people just will forget. It's so easy to forget. I mean, it's even if you're a person who wants to be careful, it's not that hard to just kind of forget about the fact that you're trying to stay away when you're trying to pay attention to something. And I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. Moving on to dining. So there has been a little bit of change. There are no dining plans going on right now. And there's also limited locations for what kind of food you can get. So not every single quick service is open. And those that are open are requiring mobile orders. So they don't have the big long lines outside of like Pecos Bill, or they don't even have like Columbia Harbor House open because there's only one entrance and exit. And it's so congested in that building that they wouldn't be able to social distance responsibly. So quick service only has mobile order options. Any table service that you have does require reservations. There are no walk-ups available. You can go ahead and look on the app and see if you can get a last-minute reservation, but you must have a reservation. And they also changed the time period for when you can request reservations. Instead of 180 days like it used to be, now it's 60 days in advance.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's a swap. Big one. So places, so places that were buffet style, when it's like a sit down restaurant that had buffets, now they bring you like a certain amount of food to the table that you just do family style instead.
Yeah. So think like it's going to be more like Whispering Canyons, which is in Wilderness Lodge, or Garden Grill in Epcot, or Ohana. Those were ones where they'd bring platters of food, and you can, if you want more, you could just tell them what you want and they could bring you more, but they're not going to have you go up to the cesspool that is open food where everybody walks by it. No,
I didn't even think, I thought they just closed those restaurants. That makes a lot of sense though, to do it that way.
Yeah, they've been opening them back up.
Okay, interesting.
And then the last thing that they've been opening up are the character meals, which primarily go hand in hand with those buffets. So they have limited character interactions. I know that the one that opened up first was like Topolino Terrace in the Riviera, and they used they had like Mickey be 10 feet away and would just wave at you, maybe do a little bit of his skipping around and, blow some kisses and take some pictures, but that would be it. So there's no more hugs. There's no more like person to person interactions.
To me, it seems like character, I mean, and I haven't seen what it looks like at this point, but to me, it just seems like character meals seem less like a thing, less organic at this point. A lot of these other things felt more organic, but that feels less organic because that was actually one of the things I liked about. That was the only really character stuff I did. Was I would usually probably would do one character meal when we would go, because it was cool because you got to see a couple of characters and you would get like a little brief interaction with them in a more organic setting.
Yeah, and even some of them that were standard. So Chef Mickey was a very popular one. They're just reopening that. But that one had such like tight seating to begin with. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to have the characters moving around there, but they're going to bring characters back. They already announced it. Cinderella's Royal Table is only having Cinderella come out, and she just basically walks to the upper level where you come in, not even near the tables, does a wave, does like a little swoosh with her skirt, does another wave, and then walks away. You're not going to get all of the princesses like you used to.
Sure. And they don't come down and like talk to you and stuff.
Nope.
Yeah. Gotcha. Cool. And one of my favorite things, I love park hopping, which has been not available since they reopened. And they are saying beginning of next year, sometime, they are going to reintroduce
January 1st.
a park 20. Roughly, is it for sure January 1st now is what they're saying?
That's the announcement that I saw on the paperwork.
That's the announcement. Okay. So they will allow park hopping, adapted park hopping on the 1st of next year. You have to have a reservation. So we were talking about reservations before. You have to have a reservation for both parks to do it.
Is that
correct? So it's One park.
But you have to
The
go to
first
that
park.
park. So you can't just have like a reservation at Epcot and then not go to Epcot and then park hop to a different park.
Got it.
You have to
Understood.
actually go to Epcot, check in, and then you can go to the other park.
Got it. So you can only do that after 2 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. So you have your scheduled park, and what they'll do is, so based on what I understand, you go to the park and you check in and you spend a little time at that park depending when you get there, and then at the point of 2 you could go to any other park at that point,
depending on capacity as well. So if another park is at capacity, you aren't able to hop over there. So if you wanted to go to Epcot at night for dinner, for food and wine, or whatever festival's going on at that point in time.
What if you have a reservation?
Nope. It doesn't matter if you have a dining reservation. If the park is at capacity, then you're out of that reservation.
And you're still out of that reservation.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So they're holding very strongly to that park capacity, which they haven't been meeting up until this point. I think they said that Thanksgiving was at about 77% of what their current capacity level is at. So it's still not reaching 100% capacity. So they haven't had an issue. In fact, most people have been leaving after like 2:00 in the afternoon and not coming back to the parks, which is why they're offering this, because they're losing out on revenue for that dinners.
Evening. Sure. Like, but it'll be interesting though, because if you're doing that though, and you don't have a reservation for the second park, like you are taking theoretically a risk.
Yep, and you can't make a reservation for the second park. You only allowed one park reservation a day.
One park reservation.
Yep.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But like when you're talking about like a dining reservation, like for dinner, you could make a reservation at a different park and then be like, that's what I want to do for the evening. But you are taking a risk by not having that.
It's a shot in the dark.
By not having that, it's a shot in the dark. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And we do have a workaround for that. So that way you don't get, dinged as far as not getting to your reservation. In past episodes, we've talked about, just pushing that reservation out a couple days and then canceling it, because you need to cancel it, I think, within 24 hours. 48 hours, something like that. So there is a workaround, so you're not dinged the no show,
the fee, but
but
interesting. But still something to be aware of. That is a caveat. It doesn't, just because you have a reservation to eat there doesn't mean that you get to just get to the park either way.
Yep.
So good to know. Resort access is limited at this point, or resorts in general. Like you can't stay at every resort at this point.
Yeah. Currently the All-Stars, all 3 All-Stars are even closed. They will be opening up All-Star Movies, which is where we have our reservation for the 50th. Don't stalk us.
Yes.
They're opening that up as of February. But at the time of recording here, let's see, both French Quarter and Riverside are closed. I believe that Old Key West is closed. I believe that Coronado Springs might be closed, but I think
Caribbean Beach is open.
Yeah. So it's really weird. Or else they'll have like Yacht and Beach, like the DVC part is only DVC. So I don't remember which one is which. Maybe it's Beach Club.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
But that's only for DVC. For Grand Floridian, that's only DVC right now. And so you really have to look at what's available at the time that you're going, and then keep an eye out, because we had originally reservations for Pop Century, and then they announced that they were going to be opening up movies for us when we were going to be down there. So we figured we'd save $50 a night and move over there for the same bed.
Exactly. It's a very similar experience for less money. I'll take it.
And they're running some fabulous discounts right now. If you're wanting to stay at one of the moderates or the deluxe resorts, I'm seeing discounts up to like 40% off through April.
Oof.
Yeah. I was looking at Bay Lake Tower availability Christmas Day, and there was still options for Park View. Being able to look into the theme park on Christmas Day, that was still open for 40% off.
Like, what? it's gonna be Christmas Day. I'm gonna have no idea where Crystal is, and come to find out she's actually gone to Disney and she's staying at Bay Lake Tower.
Well, and the airline tickets are also trying to con you into going, but I don't feel safe. So that's
I know the airline thing
convo.
is just staying in like a Tyvek suit with a respirator the whole time. Anyway, moving on.
But yeah, and with things that are changing and the 50th that's going to be coming up in 2021, there's going to be a lot more activities, I'm sure, that will be announced, as well as opportunities. So just keep an eye out. And if you're interested in going, definitely check out the special offers tab, because you want to make sure that you are saving as much money as possible whilst you are there.
And one thing to notice too is if you are staying at a resort right now, you are not able to just resort hop at the moment, but that is probably changing, right?
Yes. At the time of recording, they still require that you have a reservation, whether it be a overnight reservation or a dining reservation to be able to get onto the property, but that is becoming more lax now too. I think they are officially announcing that you're going to be able to do like even resort to resort transport, which I've never heard of before.
Yeah, I didn't even know that didn't exist before.
No, but they're talking about possibly doing that. I don't know.
I always had to hack the Walt Disney transportation system to get between resorts before.
Yeah, we've had to go to like a park or figure out our workarounds. Yeah. And I don't know, but I heard they're going to be opening that up a little bit more for people. So check that out around the holidays, but just make sure that you're being respectful and responsible if you go down. Now is a great time to be able to do a whole bunch of things that you might not be able to during, pre-COVID sort of kerfluffing of people. That's not a word, but you get what I'm saying. Kerfluffle.
Kerfluffle.
So yeah, I mean, if we lived anywhere closer, I probably would go down there. But
me too.
We're in Minnesota. We're on the complete opposite side of the country.
Right.
It is not easy for us to get down there.
From a latitude perspective, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely not not something that we're gonna do, but it does sound like they're doing a pretty good job, and they are. It sounds like they're really trying to keep restrictions in line with where things are. Though right now in our region we're having a big old surge, but I think Florida's kind of been surging all along, so I don't know if there's anything.
Yes, once you get to the Disney bubble, then you should be okay. But the getting there is the issue. So just be aware, be responsible, be safe, be smart, and just be respectful.
Absolutely.
So on that note, this has been WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And we hope you have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everybody.